What's up, everyone? The Advantage Line Rugby League betting podcast is back. I am your host, Karl, joined in studio by my good mate, Paul Mawate. Paul,
how good?
Footy season's nearly here, mate.
Footy
season's nearly here.
Look, I'm getting through these last few weeks before the season proper starts by getting my Married at First Sight fix. So obviously we're going to have a math section in the Advantage Line as we move on through the season, but absolutely pumped. Can't wait for the start of the season and to see the mighty Wars, I think, improve on their performance from last season.
We will get to that shortly. Now, we can't do this by ourselves.
No.
The punters will get sick of listening to us pretty quickly, I would say.
100%.
So we will be joined each week by our good mate Surly or Blake Ashford, one of the two.
Good on the boys.
Yep. We will also be joined each week by a man they thought was dead and gone.
Drum roll, please.
After doing some research, we actually found out he was serving a suspension for calling Nathan Cleary barely a first grader on this very podcast, in fact.
He served his time, though?
He served his time.
Good.
He is back along with his hot takes, like Stone Cold returning to WrestleMania.
Oh, The Undertaker.
I'd like to welcome in the great man, Nick Tedeschi. Teddy, welcome back to the Advantage Line.
How good. Like a combination of Jesus Christ, Michael Jordan, and Winston Peters. He has come back from the dead. A comeback kid. What an unlikely return. Yes, the copped a suspension longer than Danny Williams for his king hit on Mark O'Neill for that terrible take on Nathan Cleary. I think I've been gone 2.5 years and Penrith have won 3 premierships over that time. But you know what? Like I told Paul off air, you find the evidence. We'll discuss it. I have no recollection of that hot take, so we'll move on.
I can assure listeners that we have everyone in the office. They have stopped doing anything else and they are searching through the archives for footage of Teddy saying that Nathan Cleary was barely a first grader.
I haven't run this by anyone, but if you're a listener, an OG listener of the Advantage Line, and you can find this episode for us, we'll find a $100 bonus bet for you. DM us on Instagram, tab.nz, and we send us the link and we'll sort you out.
Boom. Or he's got a bounty on his head already. This is fantastic. We're not 5 minutes into the Advantage Line 2024 and Tedeschi has got a bounty on it, and I am sure there will be listeners out there who will be rummaging through the internet looking for that piece of and I know it does exist. He did say it.
I thought all those who had a target on my back were gone for, but you've got a whole country after me now.
Okay, before we move on and get this podcast started proper, would you like to renege on that statement at all?
Look, I'm happy to walk it back a little and say he's half decent. I'll tell you, I probably wouldn't have done it before the grand final last year, but after a complete strip out, having Nathan Cleary for last try scorer and Clive Churchill, that last 20 minutes, he has endeared himself somewhat to me after that. But yeah, it may have been a little hot under the collar on that one. And yeah, look, I'm sure those who go back through the archives, that won't be the only terrible take they'll find either. So
another one we came across recently, Paul Mawate saying Sean Johnson is gone. He's passed it.
No.
He's not an NRL player anymore.
Okay, so once again,
came second in the Dally M's last year, Paul.
He should have won.
He should have won.
One of the biggest travesties of last season. But
is it up there with the underarm ball for New Zealanders in terms of being knocked over by Australians? It's got to be up there, doesn't it?
Huge. Unbelievable. There have been a number of instances where we've been just absolutely done by the Aussies, the judiciary or somewhat. But my comment, I think, has been taken totally out of context. You've taken out the part that you wanted to focus on and not played the whole thing. And let me explain exactly what I meant. So, no, I'm sorry. You're wrong. That's not what I meant.
Isn't going after Sean Johnson like shooting Bambi in New Zealand? Isn't he like the most beloved,
Certainly is on this podcast. Yeah.
beloved figure in New Zealand? Like, on the long list of Australians who have either hosted or been on the Advantage line, I don't think anyone went after Sean Johnson as much as you there, Paul. So, yeah. Public enemy number one right now.
Let's just set some ground rules early. SJ, don't touch him. Don't touch him.
It's been great appearing on one episode of the Advantage Line 2024. I wish you all the best of luck, boys.
Right, we've derailed already. My run sheet's gone. I'm going to try to bring it back. Quick run through of what's going to happen this season, punters. We're going to do next 4 weeks, fellas. We're going to go through each team and have a look at them and where we sort of think they're going to end up. Starting from the bottom of the table, today we're going to do the first 5 teams and then 4 teams every week thereafter. We're aiming to set up a tipping comp for us and the listeners.
Yep.
We'll get those details to you in the next week or so.
And
any prizes for the punters?
we're going into the kitty bag and we're looking for a few prizes. There'll be something.
We're trying.
Yeah.
Yep. NRL grid. Now this took I don't know if I can say the nation, but certainly took our office by storm in recent times. Teddy, you got me onto this, and I am addicted.
I'm not to be addicted.
We're going to look at NRL grid every week, and we're going to tally our scores throughout the year, and basically see which one of us is the most knowledgeable when it comes to former rugby league players.
It's not just that though, is it, Karl? It's just you've got to just delve into your brain. You're not just thinking about old league players. You're thinking about who's the rarest one you can name without kind of getting too cute and missing out on getting it wrong. And for those who haven't played it, it doesn't need to be promoted. Play it once. If you're a league fan, you'll be addicted. Like it is the Wordle of rugby league. You just cannot.
I will be last every week.
Okay.
An NRL grid, I will be, because I'll be thinking of someone from 1984 or 85, and I'll get done.
That's what gets me, Paul. I came up. My first year, I really remember is 88. So, but the years I remember the most, kind of pre-uni days, where I was too busy on the tiles for the next 10 years. So I've got a real blank spot between 2000 and 2010. But yeah. Peak rugby league fandom was as an 11, 12-year-old where you had the footy cards and you watched everything and you absorbed everything. That was so give me a 1988 to 1995 NRL grid. The naming of Steve Menzies or Ruben Wiki, those that crossed over years, they get you more often than not.
Yeah, 100%.
So we'll be keeping tally across the year. We're going to kick off most shows with a question. I've called it divided opinions because I'm hoping to get the boys fired up before we start a show. And this may or may not work, so bear with me.
I don't tend to get fired up too much, Karl, so
sorry?
I don't tend to get fired up too much, so
just trying to dangle the carrot. We're going to obviously do previews. We're going to preview a handful of games each week, review the week before, and obviously do some betting as well. We will keep a tally of all of our bets. The idea is we get $100 a week and we can bet on anything we like, fellas. We will keep keep a tally, a return on investment, if you will, see how we're going for the year. And I guess at the Advantage Line Christmas party, the winner will get something.
I look forward to that.
Yes. And Surly and Blake will be in on that each week as well, regardless of them being on the pod or not. So
a good mixture there.
It's all on.
Yeah.
Fierce competition.
Yeah. Right. Before we if you're going to set some odds, who's your betting wise?
Yeah.
Where are you going? Who out of the 5 of us?
Yep.
Who's
Lock
your favourite?
Me. Oh, me.
Please.
100%. Just lock it in. See, you've got an emotional connection to the Waz.
We've got a physical connection.
Yeah, there we go, the tattoo. So you once again, you will find it tough to separate emotion from, I guess, looking at a game with Blinket just as it is. There, Teddy, he's got
talk about emotion.
Yes.
But none of it leads to betting on the Bulldogs.
If you've never watched the Advantage Line before, Teddy is a huge Bulldogs fan. But I think,
I'm not sure he's ever said a good word about the Bulldogs.
well, he hasn't really had.
Not since I've been in the Advantage Line. It's been, guess what? The Bulldogs last played finals football before the Advantage Line started. So.
And of course, the great saviour, Seraldo, came across from the Panthers. That didn't quite go to plan. And
Got the wrong one.
yeah, well done, Waz. But we'll get into that longer. Look, by far and away, I'll kill you guys.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks.
This is easy. It's not fair.
Yeah, I agree. Mo's a massively short price favourite. Certainly goes into the season with all the expectations, and failure to win by a significant margin will be a huge disappointment for not only him but the nation of New Zealand.
He's knocked it on the head.
Easy. All right. The first divided opinion. Came across this graphic on social media the other day, and it made me laugh. Luke Brooks is the only player in NRL history to have played 200-plus games and never played finals football. That is tough. Teddy, I'll go to you first. If Luke Brooks was to retire today, how would you remember his career, and what does he need to do with Manly to change that?
I would remember his career as one of the great disappointments of all time. I was actually at his debut game against the Dragons. He played the last game of the year. They'd had a shocking year. He had a great game. Andrew Johns declared him the next Andrew Johns. Well, I can tell you what, he wasn't only not the next Andrew Johns, he's almost like a poor man's Toby Sexton, which is really saying something. I for a long time I felt sorry for him. Like he was certainly a victim of his own of his environment. Being at the Tigers certainly did not help. But and you can't blame someone for getting all the money they can get. So I had no issue with him collecting all the money he got, but he just refused to put the work in. Like his kicking game has gotten worse over the years. He could not lead a team around the park. The basics that you need to get done as a halfback in the NRL just aren't there. So I think he will certainly improve at Manly based on the fact that it's not his team, but it's not going to help his legacy at all. His legacy will be one of disappointment and underachievement.
Anything to add there, Paul?
Yeah, as Teddy said, you can't blame a guy for taking the cash when you're a rugby league player's career is finite. So you've got to make the most out of it, and you don't know when it's going to end. An injury could, boom, career done. So you've got to make the most of it while you're there. I agree with Teddy. He's regressed, and I get the feeling that the pressure's just built on him. If you're on the Tigers team, one of the players there, and you're on whatever 150K, and this bloke's on megabucks, and he's just not producing the goods week in, week out, I'm thinking, well, why is he on this sort of money? And I'm slogging me ass off week in, week out, and I'm getting nothing from this guy. Yeah. So I agree. I think a change of environment and a change of heading to Brookie or Four Pines, it'll be a huge upturn for him. I just don't know how he'll fit into that system, partnering up with DCE. I guess it'll take a wee bit of the spotlight off him, so maybe we'll see him flourish and return to the sort of heights that when he first hit the scene, punters thought, and Joey Johns thought that he might actually rise to. But I don't think we'll ever see him as an out-and-out like superstar.
Paid on potential is what I think. I could see him this year going, not changing, just being the same player, or with all those weapons around him, DCE, Turbo, Jake Trbojevic, like he could become a really good player in the next couple of years at Manly. So, yeah, interesting one.
Sounds like you should help the football department at the West Tigers with that kind of belief in his potential, Karl. Like, you're certainly right.
It could be good.
You're certainly right. Like, if all those players stay fit and healthy, Manly, we'll get into Manly kind of in a few episodes' time, but have such a top-heavy roster that if everything stays fit, it might work out for him. But Turbo's played less than 45% of games over the last 4 seasons. So if he's going to be relied on to do anything substantial, it's not going to be helpful for him.
All right. Shout out Luke Brooks and shout out Joe Johns. Good start. Next one, fellas, the NRL grid. Not really sure how we're going to do this. We'll go around the I'll start with your score. Your total score. So this is from Wednesday, 7th of February.
Yep.
The grid that we've done. So you can go back retrospectively and do this.
That's
you can go back as far as you want. So maybe if you want to play along,
don't listen to the next part.
Pause the podcast now. Go back and find the 7th of Feb. Do the grid and then come back to us. Teddy, what was your total score?
20.7.
20.7.
20.7. I don't think I was in the top 300 either. So
I had 55.5. I thought I was flying, but I was in the top 500.
One of the answers was was my favorite random player and got a 0.0 for it, which was amazing. So I've been waiting for this player to pop up for a long time. Well, when we go through each of the answers, we'll talk about that player, but it's one for the ages.
Your total score?
38.4.
Oh, I genuinely thought I was going to come in and be leading from the front here. This is tough. Okay. All right. Well, let's go. We'll go around the squares then. First one has played for the Dragons and has scored 100 points in the season. I went with Piggy Riddell.
I also went with Piggy Riddell times 3.
Here we go. Next one along, played for the Dragons and played for the Tigers. I struggled with this one. The only one I could think of was Benji Marshall. And that was top points, 14.14.
I went rhyming. Piggy Riddell, Jacob Liddell.
Very nice. I actually went with the next colleague of mine from the Sporting Met days, Corey Pearson.
Oh,
wow.
2.7. Probably wouldn't have got him if I didn't work with him. So.
Next one, I was pretty happy with this one. Less than 50 games career and has played for the Dragons. I went with Tristan Saylor.
Nice.
Paul?
I went with Rangi Chase.
Oh, nice. I thought he would have played more than that. Well, I went with Richie Williams. Do you remember Richie Williams? He got into a blue with Braithen Astor on an Anzac Day game. Was a complete and utter grub. I think he only played less than a season, but Richie Williams.
Very nice. If we go down to the middle line, scored 100 points in the season and has scored a hat-trick. I went with my guy, Sean Johnson.
I went Alex Johnston.
Yeah, Alex Johnston times 2.
What was the score for Alex Johnston?
2.64.
Oh, wow.
What about SJ?
3.1. Next one, has played for the Tigers, has scored a hat-trick. I went with Matt Utai.
Oh, nice.
David Nofoaluma.
There must have been 20 points, was it?
4.36.
Wow.
Daniel Fitzhenry, 1.67.
Jeepers.
Daniel Fitzhenry. Wow. Played less than 50 games career, has scored a hat-trick. Ezra Mam. Got one in the grand final.
He was the most recent one that I could think of.
That can't have scored well.
2.83.
That's not too bad. You got Ezra as well, Paul?
Yes.
I had Jordan Atkins. Remember Jordan Atkins? Scored 4 tries on debut for the Titans. I don't think he played much more after that.
It was when they were going through the period of, they had a lot of Jordans on the wing.
They had a lot of Jordans full stop, I think. Jordan Carter was there. Jordan Ruffiner, I think, might have started up there.
Funny story. I almost ran Jordan Kahu over one day.
Well, I don't know.
Deliberately or accidentally?
Accidentally. So him and Lema Sopoanga from the All Blacks, they They actually lived or grew up in Petone or Alistown, which is just sort of around the corner from my house. And were one Christmas or something, they were back home, riding their bikes on the road. Looked like they were half pissed. And I came around the corner and almost cleaned them up.
Gee,
That's
saved a few clubs a bit of heartache with the directive.
Butterfly effect.
All right, next one. 100 points in a season, has played for the Knights. I struggled. I went to Kurt Gidley.
Yeah, I was getting a bit tired.
14 points there.
I went
Gidley
Andrew
would have scored a lot.
What was that one?
7.49.
Oh, well
How
done.
was Andrew John 7.49 and Kurt Gidley is 14.4?
He was.
I'm guessing Joey played a lot of his career before this was in, because it's kind of based on how many games you played and how recently you played. So Gidley probably had more games and more recent than him. So
Joey was my first option. I was like, nah, that'll be top points. I'm not doing that.
I was trying to avoid those two. So I actually went Dominic Young because I know he got 25 tries last year. So I don't know if he didn't get the plus, but got bang on 100. So 4.2 points for Dom Young.
Next one, played for the Tigers, has played for the Knights. I think there was only about 13 or 15 options here.
This was hard. This is the one I struggled with the most.
Chris Heinington for me. 13.21.
David Clemmer,
Oh, good get.
10.03.
Yeah, I almost put in Clemmer, then Corey Patterson came to mind. So Corey Patterson, 2.99. Big goal kicking back rower who couldn't tackle.
And this one, I'm pretty proud of this one. Has played less than 50 games in the career and played for the Knights. Carlos Tormavave, 0.69.
Oh, did he play for the Wars as well?
He did play for the Wars, debuted for the Wars.
Lachlan Miller,
Who?
the ex-rugby union player.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually playing.
Outside back.
He's now.
Yeah.
But he's played less than 50 games, 1.45.
Well, you've got an ex-rugby union player. I've gone an ex-quote-unquote NFL player. Greg Smith. If you remember Greg Smith, the famous nice winger who played one game against the Bulldogs, claimed to Warren Ryan, and Joey John tells the funniest story about this, claimed to Warren Ryan that he played for the Philadelphia Eagles, had not played for the Philadelphia Eagles. Turned out he was just an African-American living in Australia. Somehow got a gig in first grade, and no one has ever been given a bath by Daryl Halligan more than Greg Smith was that game. I think Halligan got 3 tries in that game. They just kept putting bombs when he couldn't catch him. Anyway, Greg Smith, 0.00. The first time I managed to hit that one, so amazing.
Wow.
What do you get for that? Do you get a brain or a goat or what?
I got a wizard for that one, and I got a brain for Richie Williams, and the rest were just ticks for me.
Yeah.
I would have thought unicorn might have been in the order of the day for that one. I can't imagine many people getting Greg Smith.
What did you get? 0.00.
Yep. First time that's ever happened to me. 105, 107 of these have been going.
Glitch in the matrix there. So what were your total scores again, Paul? 30.
38.4.
Teddy, 20.
0.7.
Wow.
Don't worry, I will be getting. I'll get the 2 or 3 red spots. Usually.
Yeah. My score tends to hover around the kind of 40 to 50 mark. So it's got very lucky with a Greg Smith and Richie Williams. That's not part of it. I will say this: I tried a lot harder yesterday than I probably do most days.
All right, that's good stuff. I've got a long way to come back.
One under the belt.
Yep.
Boom.
Good to go. All right, let's get into the season preview, fellas. As I said, we're going to start with the bottom 5 teams. So we will start by looking at the Tigers. They finished dead last year. To make the 8 this year, $6. Missed the 8, $1.09. Top 4, $21. To make the GF, $41. And to win the GF, $101. Let me go to ins and outs just quickly. Solomon Alamalo is joining them. They've got Solomon of Fa'atape. Hopefully I've said that right. They've got Latu and Samuela Fainu. Justin Olam from the Storm, Aiden Caesar back from Leeds Rhinos, Jaden Sullivan from the Dragons. Losses, Sean Bloor, Luke Brooks, Dane Laurie, Ken Malmalo. Oh, Ken Malmalo went to the Titans. Sorry.
He left a long time ago.
It was last year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Quite early last year.
Yeah.
Big shout out to our friend La Bomber on Ken Lamalo. How's he going?
I was waiting for that.
Joe F. Offahangawe, Tommy Talau, and Brandon Wakeham. Teddy, how do you feel about their overall squad 2024 for the Tigers?
Yeah, don't love it. They really struggle in the spine. Let's talk positives first. I think they've got a pretty good starting pack. When you got Udukamanu, Coruscant, Clemmer, Papali, Bateman, and Pile, that's a pretty good starting pack, and that's something you can kind of build around in the future. You got Alex Twile on the bench as well, so there's a bit going on there. Drew Buller, I think, is a pretty handy fullback. The question around the Tigers, though, is kind of where they're going for the future. And I think they've certainly made the right steps there in terms of bringing in Shane Richardson as CEO, getting rid of the last regime. But the big question on how they're going to go is Benji Marshall's coach. Right now, I don't think there's any question that Benji Marshall is a highly intelligent person. He's a very good footballer. Certainly hasn't been given much help until recently with trying to build a team. So give him a bit of a break. But I just think of the two coaches who coached probably as young as he did, who played kind of a significant period of time in the top grade, Trent Barrett and Nathan Brown, and neither of those guys worked out particularly well, like really underachieved. So I actually feel a bit sorry for Benji. I think he's been thrown into a situation that he's probably not ready for. I'd like to see him himself. I think the Tigers will be better than last year. Yeah, we'll get to predictions. I don't think the Tigers are only last this year, but they're very susceptible to injury, right? Like they are really, their depth is probably the worst in the competition. And when you've got an outside, they've already lost Adam Dewey for half the year. Their three quarter line's going to be Charlie Staines, Olam, probably Stafford Toa, Junior Tupu. Tupu's leaving as well next year. It's pretty fragile, and the real kind of red mark for mine is Jaden Sullivan and Aiden Caesar. Like that is, the Tigers obviously don't think that's their long-term halves plan. They've got the fine Lillard for next year. They've got they're really backing this Lachlan Galvin to be their starting halfback. I think we'll see him at times this year, but Caesar and Sullivan will be their starting halves this year, and that is probably the worst starting half combination they've got.
It's a pretty fair summary there, Paul.
I almost 100% agree with Teddy there. I think the most important person for Tigers fans is Benji Marshall. If he can mould this team together and build the sort of culture that we've seen built at the Warriors, and we're going to bring up the Warriors quite a bit on this advantage line, but if he can do that, then they're not going to go 3 in a row wooden spoons. I agree. Their pack looks very, very good. Their starting pack looks very, very good. I think we need to see John Bateman. I thought he underperformed last year. But if he can show us the sort of form that he showed in his first season with the Raiders, then that pack does have a very, very good look about it with David Clemmer, Utoi Kamanu, the Iceman, and Coruscant. Jareen Buller, I thought, was one of their better players last year, and I hope that we see him improve on that. He looked very, very good at times last year. I think the addition of Justin Olam from the Melbourne Storm.
Very good signing, isn't it? Very good signing.
It just gives them, and he's a clever guy. He's got a degree in engineering or something like. He's
not going to help him on the footy field. But.
Well, I don't know, angles and anyway, he's a clever guy. He comes out of a system. This is the problem. Sometimes you take someone out of the Storm system and they don't quite click when they move to another system. But I don't think we'll see that with Justin. He's a very good plus for them, but yeah, their big question mark or their big weakness for mine is the halves.
Yep. agree. Forward pack, good. Backline, question mark. Bench, average. Depth, not good.
Yeah, and where they're going to come down to is benching his assistant's ability to develop their young players. Like they've got like Buller, Lachlan Gale, and the Fino brothers who've got a lot of hope, and Callum De Silva they rate really highly. They got this good young talent, and the way how Penrith ended up being built was they ended up developing this young talent to a really good level, and that's how they're going to have to build this roster because they're not going to attract big name players. Like Luai will help with that, but if they want to see something this year, they're going to need to start getting something out of those young players that they haven't done for 10 years. So Buller thrived last year on natural talent alone. Buller was given no hope last year, so hopefully with a bit of stability, Richo's really good at bringing the right people around. Benji's, I would hope, would be a good development coach, but I'm always worried about players who are as talented as Benji. Often don't know how they got that good, so they really turn to be good coaches. But either way, I think the ship's pointing in the right direction for the Tigers, isn't it?
They seem like they turned a little bit of a corner when Sheens left last year. There was a bit of a culture shift, and everyone seemed to be up and about a little bit more. So yeah, if they can continue to build on that, where's Dewey going to play when he comes back?
Well, Insider there tells me that they're going to be trying to move Dewey on at the end of the year. So Dewey will play centres when he comes back into the first grade. Will likely partner with Holland, but I think it's very much going to depend on the early season form of probably Stafford Tull, but possibly Brent Naden as well. So we'll see with him, but he's certainly been earmarked, I would have thought, to move on. I think they're pretty keen to overturn the roster as quickly as possible. And his natural position is 5'8", and they've got Luai. So, that's going to be it for him. And I'm sure Karl picking up, I'm sure he'll contribute to him.
Yep. I asked both Surly and Blake for their thoughts. Surly's given me, we'll get to this shortly, where we think the teams are going to finish, but Blake's given me a couple of lines. He's titled it.
Remember, this is his team.
One of his teams.
And Benji was the guy who set him up for every try in his career, according to him and one of his podcasts. So
He knows everything to Benji. He says
that extra zero he got on his last contract was all down to Benji. He's gone all journalism on us here. In bold, Benji gets the Tigers roaring to 9th. Will be much improved with a full preseason under Benji and co. They have a good draw, in my opinion, and I see them in the 8 at the midway point. If Adam Dewey does come back sometime around then, could be the boost they need.
So we're talking about their draw. So I've done a fair bit of analysis on their draw. They got the 12th most difficult, the 12th worst draw. So, either way. But their hard games really come in the back third of the season. They got a pretty good first 2/3 of the season. So they're going to have to build their wins up early. They're going to have to build some momentum up. They also benefit by getting Penrith away at Gosford and South away at Gosford. And their last 4 rounds, they've got 3 home games and a bye. So, pure wins and losses. It's not the easiest draw, but they get a few breaks in that season as well. So I think, Blake's not wrong about that. It's not a draw that should disadvantage them.
Yeah, I mean, through 6, they get the bye to start, so there's 2 points. And then the next 5 rounds, they've got 3 teams that I think will be, finishing in that lower quarter of the table. So, chance that they could come out swinging, have 3 or 5 wins early or more.
And they're one of 2 teams with the Warriors to only play the top 4 teams 4 times. Of course, the Warriors finished there in the top 4 last year. So, Tigers only played Penrith, Melbourne, Warriors, Broncos once apiece.
Okay, good to know. Paul, have you got a player to watch or someone who's going to provide the most impact for the Tigers?
I like Buller, the young fella at the back there. As Teddy said, he's got a whole heap of natural ability. And if Benji can sort of hone that, He sort of reminds me a wee bit of Benji Marshall. So if there's one person who can maybe help Buller improve, I think it'd be Benji Marshall. So he's the one for me, number one.
Teddy?
Yeah, I'm really going to Justin Olam. I think he gives the Tigers something that they haven't had for a long time, which is a hard-nosed, punchy centre.
Not since Blake Ashford.
Not since Blake Ashford. The similarities between Olam and Ashford, we can run a whole podcast on that one. But all I like about Olam is he's not that reliant on his inside men to set him up. He just goes hard, he tackles hard, he puts himself into games, he's got a bit to prove. He was a quality player and was injured about last year. So Olam for mine, but unquestionably Buller's their star. But Olam, I think, will just have something different.
For me, I was going to go Olam, but I'll go Coruscant. Everything runs through him. He's one of the top, premier hookers in the game. He's without that strong established halves pairing, he's their go-to guy, and he's the one that Benji's going to be looking at to run their attack through the whole season.
Did you see him sort of get frustrated at times?
Yeah.
During last season,
young
guys not knowing where to go and where to run, and
But I think you saw during that when they had that good run when they beat the Panthers in Bathurst and then flogged the Cowboys. Coruscant was really front and center on that one, and I think it's taken on a bit of a non-field coaching role there. And I'd like to see that continue because he was absolutely getting incredibly pissed off during the season last year. But you can't blame him either. And to be honest, there's people chucking hissy fits, and you go, "Well, you're just being selfish." I think he's come from a winning culture. He's won premierships. He wants to win. And I think that's exactly what the Tigers need. They need that culture change.
All right. Where do you have them finishing? Teddy, give me a bracket.
I got them bottom four still, but I got them finishing 16th. I got them 7 wins, 17 losses. So what's the bracket? I've got them in the 12th to 17th range, but if I'm picking a quadrant, I'd pick them bottom four. But bottom four with a bullet.
All right. I don't want your number yet. We'll do a ladder at the fourth preview show. Just the bracket.
The bracket. I got them bottom 5.
Yeah, 13 to 17. I do too. Surly does as well, and Blake's got them 9 to 12. I think he's contractually obliged to say that.
I know TV New Zealand does have a monopoly in New Zealand, but if Ashford Bet is offering a Tigers, I've seen them over under win bets. I'm very keen to get on.
All right, next one. The Dragons to make the 8, $6, miss the $8 line. Top 4 21s, make the GF 41s, grand final winner 101s, exact same odds as the Tigers. Ins and outs. Corey Allen in from the Roosters, Tom Eisenhuth from the Storm, Raymond Faitala Mariner from the Dogs, Kyle Flanagan from the Dogs, that's unfortunate. Hame Sally from the Bunnies, Cyrus Stanley Trail. Never heard of the bloke, but he's in.
And breaking news overnight as well, Karl. Christian Pupalotta has just been released from Manly and signed with the Dragons.
With the Dragons.
Today.
Okay. Wow, there we go. Breaking news on the Advantage line. How good. Losses. No one really jumps out here, to be honest. Moses Mbai, Jaden Hunt, Billy Burns, Alex Lobb, Aaron Woods.
Jaden Sullivan.
The Dragons are not in a good place, guys.
Tautua Moga, he's gone. Zane Musgrove.
Tautua Moga, yeah. Teddy, the Dragons they're going to be terrible this year, aren't they?
They are going to be terrible. But I'll say this. I'll make a small case for the Dragons, and I think they're favourites for the wooden spoon. When there. I don't have them running last, so I'll kind of delve into my rugby league nerddom here. Now, the Dragons finished 5-19 last year, but that was, I don't think, a fair reflection of where they were at last year. They went 3-7 in close games, one-score games, and that tends to kind of bounce around year to year. So they finished, based on their for and against, we do a thing called Pythagorean theorem, which kind of gives their true win number. They were 3.33 win short. I don't know many teams that far short in kind of the 15 years doing this. They were essentially an 8.5 non-win team last year, which is still not a good team, but they weren't in that. They weren't in that bottom, right at that bottom. But I think it was good enough base to go from. And I also think while their roster is abhorrent, it is so far worse than even the second worst team I've got in the comp. So I'm completely with you on that front. Shane Flanagan, for all the knocks on him, is a winner. And he comes from the Ricky Stewart school. He's going to flog the absolute bejesus out of them just to kind of get them up and about early. He's publicly campaigned for 6 years for a job. He is not going to let this team go in a rebuild. He knows they're not playing finals, and they're not playing finals, and they're probably not escaping the bottom 5. But I think we're going to see a pretty fierce start from the season from the Dragons, and I don't have them running last.
Do you have them running last?
No, I don't.
Wow.
No, I think there's a little bit of value in the wooden spoon market, and we'll get to that probably in the last preview show for the season before we get into the season proper. But I agree with Teddy. Shane Flanagan is a big plus for the Dragons. He'll turn that culture around. He'll do it, and he'll do it this season. Add to the fact that they were very unlucky in a number of games last season. I agree with Teddy. They should have been, I thought, a 7 or 8 win team last year. So you add those two things together. Now you look at the team. He doesn't have a lot to work with, to be fair, but he does have a Ben Hunt, who I think he can sort of build a game plan around. It looks like a very mobile forward pack. So I'm guessing that he's going to try and move those big packs that he faces during the season around the field quite a bit. After that, the back line is just Kyle's in there. That worries me a wee bit. But with the pack, but with Ben Hunt, the forward pack that they've got, if their game plan is to move the big boys around on the opposition, tire them out, I think they will. They won't finish wooden spooners. They're still in my 13 to 17 bracket, but they're not wooden spooners for mine.
They will finish dead last.
Woo!
They will finish dead last. Agree, Flanagan, not Kyle, is a big tick for them. But if I look down the page at their spine, Ben Hunt is still the guy. Ben Hunt must be about 46 years old by now. He's been around for so long. I love Ben Hunt, don't get me wrong. I love him.
It's been almost a decade since he cost the Broncos the grand final.
Exactly, like that.
He was a veteran then.
He probably played 10 years before that. He must be getting tired. Everything runs through him.
I think he's been tired for a long time. So yeah. Ben Hunt, 33 years of age.
There you go. And how many games?
12 games. He might finish his career second line Cameron Smith, in games played.
Yeah. Everything runs through him. He's still got it, but maybe just too much. You've got some decent names sprinkled through that starting side, but Jack DeBellin hasn't really come back like he was before a suspension. Jaden Sewer can't stay on the park for more than 2 games.
Jack Bird's a complete bludger. Like big names like that. Like you're spot on. Like if you can get the best out of some of these players like Lomax and DeBellin and Bird, who obviously have ability. Like 2 of them have played Origin footy. They just underachieved so badly last year, and there's just no effort. If you can kind of get some effort out of them, yeah, there might be something there.
One of the most consistent players, probably for the last couple of years since your departure and return, one of your favourites, Teddy, Mikolai Ravalawa.
Mikel Aravaloa, he's everything you want / don't want, depending on which way you bet in the game of rugby league. Like, he'll get 3 tries, he'll let in 7, he'll charge it off the wing every time. It's just like, oh my god, I cannot watch him. He just drives me absolutely bonkers. Just like, let's think, if I had a modicum of your ability, could I not just like learn the basic premise of the game? No interest.
There he is. There he is. He's back.
He's still
No,
Sheik's favorite player.
Oh, that's good. All right. So I've got them bottom table, 13 to 17 bracket. You've got them 13 to 17. You've got them
13 to 17.
Surly's got them 13 to 17. And I'll just quickly see my phone, see if Blake's come back to me with his. He has them spoon, 13 to 17.
Oh.
Blake and I are singing from the same hymn sheet. Next one.
Dangerous. Oh, we just hand over to Teddy now, don't we?
Teddy's
Just hand over.
Bulldogs. To make the 8, $3.40. Miss the 8, $1.27. To make the top 4, $9. Grand final, $23. To win the grand final, $36. Ins and outs. Where's my list?
Big in Stephen Crichton.
Stephen Crichton, the biggest in.
I hope you're making this a 3-hour podcast if you're going through all the ins and outs that Canterbury have got.
I know. I'll just pull out a couple here.
Josh Curran.
Josh Curran,
Yeah.
big in. They've got
Connor
Kirkman,
Tracy.
Drew Hutchinson, Connor Tracy, Bronson Cherry's back, Jake Turpin, and then they've got a lot of outs.
They've picked up a whole lot of Inspector Gadgets.
Yeah, I like their ins. They've made a lot of noise in the off season, but I still don't think they've got it for 2024, Teddy.
Yeah, you're obviously not a Bulldogs fan if you like their ins, because most of us hate that. Most of us hate our ins.
I should say I don't mind Stephen Crichton and I like Josh Curran. The rest I couldn't really care about.
I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you on those two sides. So, I will say this about Gus: he can destroy something. So, well done. Like, we wasn't destroying anything bad. We won the wooden spoon in 2021. And now, not a single player from our 2021 season remains on the roster. So, well done. That's a pretty quick turnaround 3 years later. So, we will start at least 7 club debutants in round 1. Now, the sad thing is no one knows who those will be or where they'll play, which is a massive, massive issue. So we've gone and paid huge money for Stephen Crichton to play fullback, and then went and signed Blake Taft, who could only play fullback. So that's idiotic. We've signed Bronson Cherry off a 4-year drug ban. Bronson Cherry, the only person with a longer suspension than me. Well, we're both
Under similar circumstances.
And Connor Tracy, I think, is a fairly adept signing, probably starting the centres, but you just don't know. Like, they signed Toby Sexton in the last year. Josh Curran will be a definite starter in a 13-year thing. I thought he got very badly treated at the Warriors. I think he was a very, very good player, capable of playing middle or edge, certainly preferring in the middle. But just a whole heap of rubbish utilities. Jamin Salmon, Jake Turpin, Drew Hutchison, Kurt Naylor. Honestly, like, I know you're trying to rebuild. You just players just don't give contracts. The real benefit for the Dogs are most of our outs. Yeah, Corey Waddell. I've never been happy to see a player leave the Bulldogs. Well, that is one. I'm terribly sad about Jack Everett. There's a player we'll get to the Dolphins. He will thrive at the Dolphins with a coach who uses him in his proper position and uses him properly. He was out. I would argue he was Canterbury's best player last year, and it was like go. But yeah, Kyle Flanagan, Josh Reynolds, all that, they've all moved on. So, a lot of hope last year the Dogs would go well. I kind of had them fringe of the 8, and they were awful. And the one disappointment last year, more than anything, and this is going to be the big reflection on Cameron Serrata. Cameron's a defensive coach. I've never seen a Bulldogs team try less in defence than what we saw last year. It was utterly abhorrent. Like, they embarrassed the blue and white jerseys last year. I know this is a rebuild. Rebuilds are when you don't have enough talent, but you try every week and you probably get beaten. There was so little effort last year. That's 66 nils. I think we conceded more than 34 points in like 10 of our last 12 games. Like, incredible. How he turns that around in 1 year, I have absolutely no idea. But I don't see how this team is improving in any way. They've got a very difficult draw. None of the numbers from last year suggested they were any better than what they were. We were probably a worse team than the 7-17 suggested. We're probably like more a 6-win team than a 7-win team. So I don't see where the upside is like that. I guess the one hope is that you just got a whole lot of new players and maybe it all fits together. Maybe it clicks. You're going to get Kikau back for a season. He didn't play much last year. And when he did play, he was clearly hurt. Hopefully we see a bit better out of Matt Burton. I still hold a bit of faith in him. But I can't remember going to round one where a team was more of a mystery than the Bulldogs team. Like, honestly, you give $100 bonus bet for anyone who gets names of 1 to 17 for the Bulldogs, and you probably won't give it away. It could be anyone. Like you try and name the bench. I've got Turpin, Salmon, Harrison Edwards, and Palasa Farmacelli there. I could go 0 for 4 there. it could be completely 0 for 4. So I've got no. The Dogs are struggling in the spine. Reid Marnie was a disappointment last year. He at least tries, but yeah, I think we're a way away from kind of improving. So and it's going to come down to Sorrell and what you can get out of them.
Just looking at the
Draw?
start of the draw,
Yeah.
there's a very real chance, Paul, that they start 0-7.
Oh, wow.
Yep, it's a brutal start of the year.
It's who plays where, who's on first, who's on second. This is the big thing. Because you think with the pickup of Blake Taff that they could move Crichton into the centres alongside Connor Tracy,
But what?
and have Taff at 1. It just, if you're going to buy him, then put him on there. I think the buy of the year will be Josh Curran for the Dogs. I think he'll be one of their standout players. But once again, Matt Burton, there's a question mark over, is he a 6? I don't know. Jury's still out on that for mine. But you look at they could have a different 17 every single week of the season. You wouldn't know. They could have a bench full of 14s if they wanted to.
Here's one
To go with our starting side for 14. So.
Here's one for you. How many weeks before we see Stephen Crichton in the halves?
We won't see Stephen Crichton in the halves.
Played in the halves for Samoa.
Yeah. I'll say we're more chance to see him in the centres than the halves.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say we will see Stephen Crichton in the halves this year.
Well, that will be astonishing, seeing as we signed 23 halves, and he wasn't one of them. Like, look, I'm not going to put anything past Cameron Charlo. He played Hayes Perrin 20 games last year in first grade at fullback. So anything's possible, Karl. So I wouldn't take a bet on it, but surely not. He's better with space.
Yeah.
So just playing with fullback. Like, yeah. You talked about Taff earlier, Paul. To quote someone who's pretty close to the game, for a footballer, Blake Taff's a lovely person.
There's another one. Right, where have you got the finishing, Paul?
13-17.
Teddy?
13-17.
I also have them 13-17. Surly has them 13-17, and Blake has them 13-17. Next one, the Gold Coast Titans to make the 8 $4, to miss the $8.27. Top 4 is $9. Make the grand final $26, and to win the grand final $46. The bookies have got the Dogs more chances of winning the grand final than the Titans. I think that is outrageous. Ins and outs. Where are we?
Not a lot. There's not a lot to it.
Keenan Palacio and Harley Smith Shields, the only real notable is.
That's about it.
There we go. The dumb
Thomas McHaley, Patrick Herbert, and Cruz leaning out. So not a huge turnover of Dable players.
What do you make of the 2024 Gold Coast Titans, Teddy.
Yeah, I've got them about the same level as the Bulldogs, to be honest. They've got some upside there. Upside. They've got some top end talent. So they've got all the pack. They've got David Peter, Tino, Fasimawali. Both of them was back in play last year. This season, Mo Fodawake, that's a lot of them. I think Cam Blast is a pretty good buy. Backline is shocking, though. Backline is shocking. Their spine is close to the worst in the comp. Jaden Campbell's okay. Foreign's done. Tanner Boyd's hopeless. Sam Brells is marginally better than hopeless. They've also been.
Can we just screenshot this just in case any of these guys turn into 3-time premiership winners from here?
I'm happy to bet I won't be wrong. I won't be wrong on this one. This doesn't seem as risky a play. They've got an ordinary roster, but the big knock on them for mine is their draw. They have the worst draw, and the worst draw by quite a lot way based on wins for last year. They start the year okay, but then it kind of gets pretty ugly after that. Des is a winner. Des has done a pretty good job coaching. The less you let Des in control of roster management, that's a positive sign. But his coaching certainly on a decline. Like he kind of was losing touch at the back end of his Bulldogs run with the modern game. Kind of didn't really show much adaptability at Manning his second stint. I thought Holbrook was better, but I think they probably need to move on coaches as well. So I kind of don't really blame them for that. Sometimes coaches just get stale. But they're just a really boring team for me this year, the Titans. Like I kind of just see more of the same. They're probably going to upside to win a couple of good games, but yeah, I've got no interest in them. They're too good to run last, but they're not good enough to contend for finals.
I've got them moving a little bit, Paul.
Up or down?
Up.
Oh, no. No.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Their forward pack is pretty good. Starting forward pack. Very big, mobile, game breakers. Backline, a few more question marks. AJ Brimson to the centres. Jaden Campbell, I thought he was pretty good at the back end of last year. Big question will be if teams have sort of picked up on what he does and can sort of shut him down pretty early. But I've got them moving. How about you?
13 to 17. I've almost locked me 13 to 17 up.
Yeah, I think you've got about 6 teams in
there. We haven't talked about 6 teams.
Am I correct, Paul? I have a funny feeling we might be on the same wooden spoon team. I've got this. They got 13 to 17 for me as well. Still haven't talked about a wooden spoon yet. Would that be correct?
We're singing off the same hymn sheet, Teddy. I think yes. I see a big fall for the Titans here. 13 to 17 for more. Sure, they've got Fasua Maliawi, David Fafita. That's just not enough.
Both for more. You could argue he was better than both of them last year.
Even Fodawaika, he's a very, very good player. They've got the foundation there to be a good team, but boy, you need
playmakers. You need playmakers, and like there's no where are points coming from with Verrills, Foreign, and Tanner Boyd? Like that's a very, very poor halves for the combo.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't say they're going to move heaps, but I've got them moving.
No, they've got a big motor. They've just got no steering wheel.
I think the teams we've talked about already are worse than the Titans.
Well, I don't. Yeah, we'll get to that a bit later in another show. But no,
we don't all have to agree.
No, and that's the beauty of it.
It's part of the show. Teddy doesn't agree with anyone, so
yeah.
It's been a little too much agreeing today, to be perfectly fair.
Sometimes he doesn't agree with himself.
All right. So you've got them 13 to 17.
13 to 17.
I'm going to say 9 to 12.
They finished fourth last year, 9 and 15 record. So yeah, I got them 13 to 17, but I've got them around the top end of that.
Blake has them 9 to 12, and Surly has them 9 to 12.
I'll wait to see you blokes have in the bottom 5.
Yeah.
Well, we've done 3 of them.
Yeah, there's still two more to go, and the teams are getting better.
Well, there's one team that stands out as pretty bad, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Massive drop off. Massive drop off.
Well, we're all seeing from the same machine on that one.
Next one and the final one for today. The Dolphins to make the 8, $3.40. Miss the 8, $1.27. Top 4, $9. Grand final, $26. Win the grand final, $46. Last year, they started off with a hiss and a roar, beat the Roosters round 1, and they're in the top 6, top 4 for the first sort of 6 weeks of the comp. Everyone was, in awe, I suppose. Teddy, how do you see the Dolphins tracking in 2024?
There's been a lot of negativity so far around teams and not too much. Let me tell you this. I am chips in the Dolphins this year. I'm on them to make the 8. I'm going to be backing them to possibly make the 4, but I like them in a lot of different angles. When we get to the betting episode, we'll get onto that. But I love the Titans this year. They were a 9-15 team on their first year. Their best player, Tom Gilbert, was hurt for most of the year. They've gone and bought Tom Flegler, international prop, real hard head, exactly what they aimed to a very good forward pack. And their worst position last year was at centre, and they've upgraded it by picking up Herbie Farnworth, probably the best centre in the game last year, and Jake Averillo, who with some decent coaching could be right up there with the best centre in the game. Speed, but they've lost no one. Herman Esiesi, Poasa, Famasuli. I think they've bought as well as anybody. Like their real win ratio, they're probably like a 10-win team last year. They've got Bennett in his last year as coach of them, so he'll be pretty keen to kind of get a result. I think they'll be pretty keen to repay him. They went 3-5 in close games, so it might be a small bump up there with a little bit of luck. I like everything about it. I think they've got a great starting team. I think they've got depth. I think he's done an amazing job building out this roster in 2 years. I've got as their bench Kenny Bromwich, Ewan Aitken, and Jared Wallace, Mark Nichols. It's a pretty good bet. And players not in the 17, Cody Nikorima, Valence Tavare, Anthony Milford, Harrison Graham, Max Plath, like some decent players and young talent, some decent first grade talent there. Like, new teams don't often get that kind of depth early on. Like, I think they're in for a very good year this year, the Dolphins, and I'll be betting them a lot of different ways to do well.
Yeah, I like the Dolphins this year. I've got them fighting for the 8, big time. You mentioned the ins, massive ins, Averillo, Farnworth, Flegler, huge and huge losses for the teams, particularly the Broncos. They're where are we? Yeah, backline, electric, forward pack, solid, bench is good. Paul, you like the Dolphins?
I do. I really like the Dolphins. I think they've done the best buying out of the 17 teams in the NRL. I think they've identified where they had weaknesses, and they've picked up players who can improve. And that, like the likes of Herbie Farnworth. I hope Jake Averillo gets a go. I think those two would make a massive centre pairing. They've got the hammer at the back, who is one of the fastest players in the game. A lot of it will come down to the combination that they, I guess, get in the halves with Katoa and O'Sullivan. But that forward pack, well, you got Kofusi, the Bromwich brothers, so there's a big chunk of Melbourne Storm.
A lot of games there.
Form there.
A lot of wins.
Yes, yep. You've got Flegler, who I think the change will do him the world of good. I think we'll see him step up big time. And if Tom Gilbert gets through the season injury-free, that's a huge plus for those. And they've got a wee bit of depth as well. That bench, they've got one of the strongest 17s, I think, in the competition. So I see a big improvement for the Dolphins.
And when their season will be set up. So in the first 11 weeks, they leave Queensland once. They've got a very easy start to the season, like the third easiest first 8 games. And they're in the top 5 easiest next 8 games as well. So they've got a good draw. The draw is front loaded. Their season is going to be determined early on, and they've been given every chance to succeed this year.
And you didn't mention, another one of your favourite players, Teddy, Jeremy Marshall-King. He started the year with a hiss and a roar last year. Was in Dally M contention for a while before he got injured. So if we see 2/3 of that again, he's going to be leading them around the park.
I've turned on him. I thought he was great. So it turns out he was the player who just needed some coaching. And to be fair, I think he won the Bulldogs best and fairest the year before he left. So I thought the upgrade to Reid Marnie was an upgrade. I'm not so sure about that in hindsight.
Certainly wasn't value.
The halves is the big question for me. Big question mark for me.
Who do you play that? Who do you play? Who are your starting halves? Do you go Sullivan Katoa, or do you go Milford? Do you bring in Nicarima? Like, it's pretty open, right?
I think Sullivan's a lock for the 7.
Yeah.
He's your solid game manager. You know what you're going to get with him. He's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
He's done it with the Warriors and the Panthers. Done a job. So I think he's your 7. And then the 6 is the spot, right? I think Katoa's only 19.
I think he starts it.
You've got to start him, I think. You've got to start him.
If there's one thing that Bennett is really, really good at, it's instilling confidence in players, and certainly young players. And I think for him not to start him would knock the young fella back a wee bit. So he'll be saying to Katoa, go out there, play your game. You don't have to do anything special.
Yeah. Just
go out there, enjoy the game. I think he'll step up this season, the young fella.
Milford's gone, and I think Nicarima's played too many positions.
I think Nicarima will probably make a nice 14.
Yeah. He ended the season at fullback last year. The hammer was in the centres. I've never really thought of Nicarima as a half. Teddy, I know you've probably got an opinion here.
Yeah, I've never really thought of him as a first grader. So.
Hey, can we go? Okay, here's another one.
I think the ship on Cody Nicarima's come and gone. I don't think I'm breaking any news on that one.
Who are you starting in the halves?
Yeah, I'm going Katoa and O'Sullivan. Agree with O'Sullivan. There's not much upside there, but there's a lot to be said for a steady hand, and particularly if you're going to play Katoa, I think O'Sullivan's got to be the man there. Like you need a steady hand when you got Katoa. Probably, I think they're both 7s, which is a bit of an issue. Like I'm not sure Katoa's that running half. Like I think when Katoa gets to where he's got to get to, a player like Milford's probably a better fit for him. But they're not there yet, and that's what I'll be playing.
Nice. All right. Where do you have them finishing, Paul? What's your bracket?
8-5.
8-5. Teddy?
Yep, same bracket, 5 to 8.
I've gone 9-12, but
right on
pushing for the 8.
The bubble.
I've got a few teams that are pushing for that 8th spot.
You got a few teams, yeah, you have.
Yeah. There's only 17 in the comp, but I'm going to utilise all of them. All right. That's us. Episode 1 of The Advantage Line. We are keep an eye out on the TAB website this week. I'm told that we should have betting on the preseason challenge. Should come available, if not today, very soon.
Keep an eye out for team list punters. It's all based on team lists.
Yeah, so. There are about 40 people playing each game, for each team this week.
Find out who's playing, how much they're trying, all that stuff. That'll determine everything.
We don't have any promos on at the moment, but there is a new product. Go and check it out. We'll talk about our one later, episode 4. But the NRL Futures Multi-Builder, you can select up to 8 selections. You can pick a grand final winner, top 4 or top 8. And you multi them all together. It's a lot of fun. And if you're as confident as I am on your selections, then you make some good cash at the end of the season too.
You can't not make cash if you want the Dolphins to make the 8 in there.
Oh, yeah, I'm guessing Teddy will have the Dolphins at, $3.40 to make the 8 as one of his legs in that NRL Futures Multi-Builder.
If only we can open my account back up, Paul.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Teddy, great to have you back, mate.
Awesome to be back. Thanks for having us, and looking forward to being here.
Yep. And week 2 will be here very soon at the Advantage Line. Thanks for listening, and we will be back next week to do it all again.